everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Danielle Macklin. I am the Director of Training and Professional Development with NUITEQ, and you are here for Elevate Your Whiteboard into a Digital Makerspace with Chorus Symphony. So if you are not familiar with our Symphony Whiteboard, it is this amazing new tool that we have that allows for a collaborative workspace. It allows for student assessment, and it allows for direct instruction or small group instruction, all in this very robust interactive whiteboard environment. So for our session today, we have about 30 minutes, and I will go through and share some tips and tricks on how to use our Chorus Symphony. I ask that if you have any questions, please feel free to put those into the chat. And while we are waiting for everyone to show up, I am going to send into the chat a Symphony lesson that shows how to use Symphony by actually using the Symphony whiteboard. For those of you who are watching our recording after, this is available in our Chorus community. So you can search for all of our Symphony content using the filters within the Chorus community. And this one is the Symphony Training version 3. So without further ado, as we get started on our session today, we are going to go through some of the tools, the tips, and the techniques on how to elevate your classroom teaching using our Symphony whiteboard. We're also going to examine how students can receive Symphony as assignments and how we can use Symphony for a collaborative experience. And then hopefully if there's any time at the end, we'll have an opportunity for questions. So in the meantime, I did turn off my camera to conserve bandwidth, but if you do have questions or anything you'd like to share, please again, place those into the chat. So I thought when learning about the Symphony whiteboard, the best way to share it would be to actually use it. So as you can see, I am currently in our Symphony whiteboard, and I've got a few new things to share since our last update. One being that I'm able to now hide our toolbar menu that is typically positioned at the bottom of your screen. We now have an icon that allows that to be hidden in a way to maximize some of that real estate within the Symphony whiteboard. We also have the ability to toggle for a full screen experience. Now, since Symphony is part of our online Chorus platform, which you can visit at chorus.nuitec.com, this is accessible on any web-enabled device. So depending on the size of the screen, you may choose to enable the full screen option, which is going to look a little different given the fact that I am on a webinar platform right now. But this would capture the entire screen for whatever environment you're working in. So let's get right into it and talk about some of the tools that we have. So like many whiteboards, we have a variety of annotation tools, but we have some that set ours apart from others. So with our annotation tools located here where it says pen, you can see we have our pen icon, we have our brush, and we have our highlighter tools, all of which are displayed on the screen here. The size can be adjusted so that you could have a very fine point font or a very thick experience. We also have a shape recognition tool. So this is going to allow me to draw a shape. And that shape, if I select the correct one, let's try that again. There we go. So if I draw a shape, this will recognize that and create that shape environment. In addition to our shape recognizer, we have a laser pointer tool. This is a really helpful annotation tool when you're trying to capture a quick moment or draw attention to a specific item on your screen, but you don't necessarily want it to be there for the entire time. So for our laser pointer tool, you can see it's flashing, it's drawing attention to the area that I've circled, but it is going to eventually disappear. And there it goes. So we have our annotation tools, very easy to use. Now I'm currently on my computer laptop, and I'm using my mouse trackpad. If you're on a touchscreen device, if you're on an interactive flat panel, kind of all the same capabilities. We also have our eraser tool where it can be adjusted for a swipe erase. As you can see here, I have a very large size. Or I can use the clear page. And this is going to prompt me to choose whether or not I want to clear everything within that page, or if I want to keep it. Other tools that we have within our Symphony whiteboard are the ability to incorporate a variety of multimedia. So for this part, the embed a web page, we have 3 different types of websites that can be incorporated into the Symphony whiteboard. We have a partnership with PhET, which provides really fantastic mathematics and science interactive simulations. So I can click that and I can either search for or scroll through and find the PhET simulation. I've already added one to my screen here. And this is going to play just as it would in a separate window. The great thing with it being on our Symphony whiteboard is I can also make that full screen. So again, maximizing my real estate. And it still functions in that same way. Very loud balloon. So there's our PhET simulations. We also have the ability to add YouTube videos. And with our YouTube videos, we ensure that all of the advertisements that would be at the beginning, the end, or embedded within the video have been removed. So YouTube videos can be searched through the search bar up here. And you can also scroll through and see some of the content that NUITEQ has produced on our YouTube channel, which includes standard aligned educational videos. Those videos can be played right within the Symphony whiteboard. So here I have a video on understanding text structure, which I hopefully have muted. Good. I can have multiple videos on my page, just like you see I have multiple websites. I can do the same with videos. And I can also change that to a full screen view. And then the last part for embed a web page is the ability to add an actual web page. So here I have our NUITEQ website. You can see I can scroll through and I can also make this a full screen and access the website just as I were to be in a different browser window. So that is how we can incorporate different web pages into our Symphony whiteboard. We also have ways to add other digital media. So the pathways for adding media can be found right here, the little picture icon. And it allows for users to connect to their OneDrive accounts, their Google Drive account, to view our content gallery, which is a curated collection of a variety of educational content and images, everything from different graphic organizers. As you can see, here are some examples of different graphic organizers, to subject-specific materials. So we have a whole slew of mathematics materials. Everything is categorized and in separate folders. We have social studies, science, English language arts, materials for our early learners, so our very little ones, and then all the way up through more advanced students as well. And a variety of other class tools. So class management tools, things like setting up an agenda, providing lunch choices, providing different calendars. So those are all accessible within our content gallery. Additionally, we have the ability to do an online image search. So I could search for and embed images directly onto my Symphony whiteboard, or I can upload my own digital media from my computer hard drive. So as I had mentioned before, I'm accessing this on my laptop, so I could connect to any items that I have within my laptop hard drive. So some examples of those digital media we have, as I showed before, our content gallery. And then here I just did a little image search. I'm also able to bring in things like PDFs, JPEGs, PNGs. The thing I love about incorporating my own materials, especially with PDFs, is any item that I add, any annotation that I add to that PDF. So if I'm doing a close read with my students or I'm having them solve problems, those annotations are going to stay with that page. So as I've moved back and forth between the page, that annotation will stay. And then if I were to move that item, those annotations are still going to stay with that page, including if I take that PDF and make it full screen. We also have the ability to add in videos and GIFs. So this is just an MP4 video that I added in. I thought with springtime, what's better than a cute little duckling? So we have videos that can be incorporated. So in addition to your YouTube search, you could also have videos that you've downloaded to your computer hard drive and our fun GIFs. I know from seeing some of our attendees who've registered, I know we've got some dog lovers in the crowd. So I saw this and thought of those people. So again, everything from educational materials that can be used to ways to make the lesson engaging and fun for your students. The newest release that we have done with Symphony is we not only allow for the ability to upload media from these different pathways, but also to drag and drop media into the Symphony whiteboard. So if I had a separate website open and I found a picture, an image that I wanted to use, I could drag and drop it directly into my Symphony whiteboard. We also have, in addition to our variety of media tools, we have the ability to add in lesson activities. So this is one from my lesson activities that can be played directly within the Symphony whiteboard. So in a classroom environment, a teacher could be providing direct instruction using Symphony whiteboard as a way to present the lesson materials and information, and then have the lesson activity embedded within that to do a checking for understanding. And it's a very simple way to just manipulate the items on the screen, just like you would if it were in its own independent browser tab. And then we have our variety of different tools. So from the toolbar menu, we have all of these different types of tools to continue to elevate that experience of using the Symphony whiteboard. So with background, we have the ability to change the color of the background pages. You can see as I'm scrolling through. I know a lot of users really enjoy having a darker background to help make some of the images or the text pop on the screen. It tends to make it accessible for a lot of students who might have visual needs. So that was something that was actually relayed to me from one of our users. So I was really, really surprised to hear that and excited to learn about that too. So we have different color backgrounds. We could also upload pictures to the background, and this would be from our computer hard drive. And then we have our grids. So this is fantastic for our mathematics teachers who might want to have the entire page be set up into a grid configuration. And you can see as I'm tapping, it's appearing or disappearing. And then the same with lines. We have a variety of different line formats. So everything from our students who maybe need to practice handwriting skills to having an opportunity to write out different texts. We have those line backgrounds for that. And then all of which can be adjusted to have a varying level of transparency. So in addition to the background, we have a notepad tool. So the notepad tool is going to allow for users to choose different font types, alignment, and size. And then as they are adding their notepad to the screen, those notepads become sizable, resizable, and scrollable. So I can adjust the fit of my notepad. And then as my students are typing and adding to that notepad, you'll see there's that scroll option that will allow me to scroll through the different parts of the text. And as we had the text within the notepad, we also have our text box tool. So here we have the ability to add a variety of different fonts. We have added so many new fonts to this. So this is just a great feature so that teachers could actually develop all of their Symphony whiteboards as a way to provide their instructional materials. So just as they would having once used a Google Slide deck presentation or a PowerPoint presentation, many of those same features can be used within the Symphony whiteboard. So lots of different fonts to choose from, everything from like your very fun fonts to script type fonts, block fonts, and then we have our accessible font called Open Dyslexic. We also have a stamp tool, which allows to add fun little stamps to the screen. So here I have some examples. There's another. So as I'm tapping on the screen, adding in those stamps. And our shapes tool. So here I have two separate shapes, and our shapes are available in both 2D and 3D configurations with different fill colors, outline colors, with different thicknesses. And then we also have our lines as well. With those images, as I'm adding them to my screen, I can adjust and resize and move, and then use any of the tools here to lock it in position, to rotate, to duplicate, or if I wanted to change the order of which one is in front, I can do that as well. And then of course, delete. So those are our shapes tools. And then the other tools we have are the ability to add audio and video. So with record, here we can add in our recorded audio. So I've already recorded audio. I'm hoping you can hear it. I know with being on a webinar platform, it might be difficult, especially with my headphones. But I've added recorded audio. I don't think I'm going to be able to have us hear it today. And add recorded audio. There we go. So this is a really great tool that would allow teachers to be able to provide their own voice when giving instructions on the Symphony whiteboard. So I think a lot of our students who might be English language learners or students who have audio processing needs, and being able to record audio and add that audio to the different places on my whiteboard so that it makes it more accessible for my students would be a huge benefit. And then in addition to the recorded audio, we also have our camera tool. And again, being on our webinar platform, I'm not able to open my camera. So I did a little screenshot of what it would look like. And the camera tool can be connected to a document camera, or being on my laptop, I have my web camera. So I could incorporate that. I could use this center button to take a snapshot of whatever my camera is presenting. And then I could use that for additional annotations or sizing and rescaling the picture that I had added to my whiteboard. So those are some of the tools. And then we get into our complex math tools. So starting with our rulers, all of our math tools are going to exist as an overlay. So here with our ruler, as I move it around, I'm able to also adjust the size of that ruler. I can lock that ruler in position and then adjust here. And then if I'm using my annotation tools, I can use that to help draw my line. And once I remove that ruler, my line will stay. So we have our ruler tool. We also have our compass tool, which functions in a similar capacity. So I'm able to draw those circles. And then if I move my compass, see I have that information here, and I can resize and scale it. Our protractor tool allows for different angles to be added to the Symphony space. And then let me switch to a new page real quick. There we go. And then our other math tool is our graph library. And this is going to be different graph configurations that would function very similar to our PDFs or our JPEG images. So any annotation I make within that graph will stay on that graph. So as you can see, there's that annotation staying. And my calculator. So our calculator is a basic calculator, but it functions just like it would if I were using a calculator elsewhere. There we go. So our simple math tools, and then we have our higher level, more complex math tools. And that would be our graph tool. As you can see here, we have the graph tool. I already added a graph, but as you can see, when I tap that graph, I'm able to input my mathematical equation. And luckily, we have an amazing math team who were able to provide me with a little bit of information on this. And as I'm changing and selecting compute, you can see my graph will change as well. And then we also have the equation editor. So this tool is going to allow me to add complex mathematical equations to my Symphony whiteboard using all of the different symbols and tools. And I know this is not real math here. That's why I already did the quadratic formula one. And then when I choose done, that's going to be added as an image, as a picture to my Symphony whiteboard. So we see a little bit of how Symphony could be used for different direct instruction methods with all of the different tools, but Symphony can also be sent to our students as a gradable assignment. So I could take this particular assignment and then from my menu, choose Send as Assignment to Students, which will then prompt me to select my class. And I can choose to make this a gradable assessment with adjusted percentage targets, and then select which students I may want to send the assignment to, and perhaps other students are receiving a different version of that. Once that assignment has been sent to my students will have access to it on their own Chorus dashboard. So just like a teacher can access our Chorus online, students have that ability as well. And we offer a variety of different rostering and single sign-on options in order to access Symphony from a student perspective. So a student would be able to then open that Symphony whiteboard, engage with all of the materials on it, and then return it to the teacher or submit it to the teacher. And as a teacher, I'm able to view that under the review progress. So here I have an assignment that I have already sent to my students, my World War I introduction. And in selecting that assignment, I get a quick overview of how many students opened the assignment, the average time spent on the assignment, and then I can see a little bit more detailed information, which I can sort as needed. So my awaiting student responses, that's telling me those students have not turned it in. Whereas review is showing me students who have completed the assignment. So let's look at some examples of ways students could complete this assignment. So in this case, this student added text to answer a question. They have their notepad. They have the ability to annotate on the PDFs. They had a lesson activity. And then they had a graphic organizer, and the student was able to use different digital media. So they were able to find images to add to the cause and effect. They chose to use the text box, or excuse me, the notepad to add text. And you can see it is scrollable. And then as a teacher, I can choose to either resend that to my student and have them attempt it again. Maybe some information was missing, or I wanted them to add additional details, or I can choose grade and complete. So in this case, we'll grade that assignment. We'll say that he did pretty good. We'll give him an 80. And now confirm, and now that assignment has been graded for my student. And then you can see other ways that students are able to respond. So we have Emma's response. So she has text here responding to the questions, maybe a shorter response here on our notepad, the lesson activity. And then we have the graphic organizer. And as a teacher, I might say, oh, you did a little bit, but you didn't really add enough. Let's go back and add some more details. So I might choose to then resend to my student and give them an opportunity to do that assignment a second time. In addition to being able to send as assignments, we also have a collaborative feature within Symphony. And this collaborative feature allows for the Symphony whiteboard to be shared with students so that they can access it on their own device and either follow what I'm doing as a teacher or have edit permissions and be able to manipulate and change items within the screen. Again, I was trying to conserve bandwidth, so I did a short recording. Make sure our sound is muted on that. On the left side of the screen is my teacher view, and then on the right would be two students. So you can see as the teacher is writing, that information is appearing in real time on the student screens. So if I'm providing this maybe as direct instruction on my panel, and I also want my students to follow along on their screen, now I have those different environments where I can do that. I also have the ability to add student editors. So from here, I'm able to choose students who have been given edit permission. So here we have a student who now has the toolbar because they have been granted edit permission. So that student can change items on the screen. Here we have our other student who was given edit permission as well. So you can see that student now being able to add, and it appears in real time. So we have this collaborative environment where students can be working simultaneously on the same Symphony activity. So it's a lot to go through in a very short amount of time. So I want to take a pause and open up the floor for any questions that you may have. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I see a question about student creation. So we do anticipate having the ability for students to create from scratch their very own Symphony whiteboards available at the very beginning of summer. So that will be coming soon, so be on the lookout for that opportunity. As of now, students can only work on Symphony assignments that have been shared with them by their teacher for either an assessment or for collaboration. Another question is, what about my content I've made on other whiteboards? I love this question. I'm going to go and share how we've actually created an ability to upload existing content into our Symphony platform. So for a lot of teachers, there's always that concern of, but we were once using this and now I have all of this stuff that I've built before. How do I make sure that I can still use it? And with that, we're able to create, from my menu, I can create a new Symphony whiteboard by importing my existing whiteboard content. So if I go back to Symphony Home, here you can see the ability to import a whiteboard file. So if you have used EasyNote content or Note content, this could be directly uploaded from your computer hard drive into Symphony. So we support currently file sizes up to 500 megabytes. This is, as of now, a free service, so take advantage of it while you can. And this will allow any of your existing old whiteboard formats to be converted into a Symphony whiteboard and then have access to all of the great tools that are available within Symphony. So great questions. Okay, if there is nothing further, I want to thank everyone again for joining us. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out via email. I'll put my email in the chat before we leave. And I look forward to meeting with you all again very soon. Have a great day, everyone.